a successful business and still have a life. My name is Stacey Morgan, and this episode is brought to you by Simply Business Accelerator. Enroll today for our May intake, where we're going to be talking about messaging and marketing in your business. You can enroll today on simplystaceymorgan.com. Today, we're going to be following up our episodes on vision and mission with our final episode on values. Not our final episode, of course, forever, but our final episode in this little series of things that I love, because I love talking mission, vision, and values, especially when it comes to your business. So values. We talk about values in terms of our personal values and in terms of our company values. But why is it important to have values? Well, I figure in your business, you have competitors, and those competitors can be delivering a really similar product or service to you. But it's the company values that you stand for that really make you stand out from that competition. So if you haven't had a chance to think about the values that you find important and that you hold dear in your business and for yourself personally, I give you all of the encouragement in the world to use this episode as a jumping off point to create your own set of personal and company values. When thinking about our company values, it's important to think about what we stand for. It's important to think about what makes us different from the rest. And it's also important to think about the things that make us who we are. Finding your values words is not necessarily an easy task, and I encourage you to try and limit your values words to 3 to 5 different words. I've done this exercise with people who run their own businesses all over the world, and the tendency to try and choose 10 or 11 or 12 words is really high, but I encourage you to try and keep it to 5 or under, especially because you should be able to find 5 or under words that give your audience, give your customers, give your target market, give your team a really good understanding of exactly what it is that you do, what you stand for, and what is important to you. So you want to find words that mean something to you personally, and you want to find words that will also mean something to the people that you want to attract into your business. Of course, we want to spend a lot of time attracting our ideal customers. People who aren't our ideal customers end up wasting a whole lot of our time. They tend to be the customers that take up a lot of our time and energy. They have complaints about all of different aspects of our service or our product, and they're people that aren't really well aligned with our values. So in being able to articulate your values, you're immediately going to rule out some people who might think that they are your ideal customer, but will pretty easily be able to self-select themselves out of your customer group. You can link your company values to your own personal values. These are things that are going to make you different, make you stand out from the rest. And I encourage you that if you've already done this exercise in creating your own values for your business, I encourage you to take this moment in this crazy time that we are in to revisit those old values, to revisit that list and think about whether you need some new ones. Perhaps this is the time to revise. So there's lots of great words that you can use when it comes to your values. And if you'd like a jumping off point for any of these words, you can download our free cheat sheet. It's at simplystaceymorgan.com/downloads. Getting those words and grouping those words into things that mean similar things to you, things that you think that you incorporate in your business is super important. Two of the words that we throw around when it comes to Port Macquarie Performing Arts are always teamwork and fairness. And whilst people's definitions of these two things could be quite similar, it's important for you to make sure that in order to not have that list of 10 words, you kind of bring it down into 5 or less. So finding some of those words that are really similar and being able to figure out which one really, really demonstrates a connection to your business in order to select one over the other is super important. You may find that once you've grouped some of these words, you have a look back and some make a lot of sense to be part of your values list and some might move themselves away from it. But I encourage you, once you've got your list of a couple of words that you've selected, and this is, you can start with 10 and narrow it down if you really feel the need. But I'm going to encourage you to ask yourself 2 separate questions once you've identified some words that you think ring true to you. The first question is why. I really need to know, or I'm really interested to know why you chose that word, why you think that word really, really well articulates what you do in your business. And then the second question I want you to ask yourself is how. I want to hear some examples of exactly how that value plays out in your business. Because it's not just enough to say that teamwork is going to be one of your values if when you get into your office, you find that everyone is quite isolated. People aren't talking and communicating together. You don't see people laughing around the water cooler. You don't see people helping each other out when it comes to big projects. You really want to make sure that the values that you choose are not just aspirational, but they are also really tangible and tactical, and that you see them playing out in your company, in the office. You want to see people really enacting the things that you're talking about. So I encourage you for each of the words you've selected to be able to go through and think about answers to both those questions, the why question and the how question. Why did you choose that word and why do you think it suits your business? And then how is it being enacted in your workplace? If you think about your own personal values, you think about what you stand for, sometimes you will find that there is a crossover between the values that you have personally and the values you have for your business as well. And I want you to know that that's okay. Sometimes it might not go the other way, and sometimes it might. And it's okay to have your company really reflect part of you that is important to you. Doesn't mean that your company and the success of your company should be completely wrapped up in your self-worth. But I really think it's important to really think about your personal values and your company values and see if there is any alignment between the two. And once you've gone through and articulated the different words that you're going to use in terms of your values, I think just the same as when we talked about vision and mission, it's really important to go ahead and communicate these values with all of the stakeholders in your business. You want to make sure that the people that you are selling to, your ideal customers, the people that you are communicating to, you want to make sure that they know what you stand for and what your values are. You really want to make sure your team is on board as well. And sometimes this activity is really important to do with your team. It's a really great thing to do as a brainstorming exercise where, especially when it comes to answering the how and why questions, you can get together with your team and you can give examples of ways in which you have seen this demonstrated in the workplace. I find this is a really great introductory exercise for some really robust discussion. And then once you've developed your values and you have them, you're starting to communicate them around the place to all of the stakeholders, your team, your customers. It's really important to also be able to refer to these values when it's time to make really big decisions in the business. Perhaps you do have a troublesome customer that's not well aligned with your values. How much easier is it to be able to ask them to leave your store or to tell them that your service is no longer a match for them if you have things like your values to fall back on? Then it becomes not personal. Then it becomes not about, well, I just don't want you here, or I don't think that you need to, I think you need to find somebody else to cut your hair. Then it becomes instead about, I just feel like there's a mismatch and a misalignment in our values. So it takes the kind of person, up close and personal aspect away from it and gives you a really clear guidepost when it comes to making your decisions. And then once you've developed your values and used them for your decision making, it's really important to think about when you're going to revisit this information. And not just revisit your values, even though this is the final pillar in my vision, mission, and values sequence. It's really important to come up with a date when you're going to revisit these. And every couple of years is really quite good because you will find that your business will grow and change. Your own personal values may also grow and change during that time. And you'll want to at least revisit these. You don't have to necessarily start from scratch and wipe the slate clean and go from the beginning, but just revisiting them and looking at them and thinking, is this still aligned with exactly what where we're going in the business? Is this aligned with what we're trying to achieve in the business? And if it is, great, and things can stay the same. But if it's not, it's a really good task to be able to go back and have a look at it. If you want some hints and tips and some jumping off words to start articulating your values, then don't forget you can download it at simplystacymorgan.com/download. Simon Sinek talks about once you've developed those values words, turning those values into action so that people in your business have a really clear understanding of what you mean by your values. So it's not just enough to say that honesty is one of our values, but instead finding an actionable term that will help articulate that to your audience, such as we speak honestly with each other, or we speak to each other with honesty. That is a more tangible, practical, measurable way of seeing your values be enacted. And if you're looking for some inspiration with Simon Sinek talking about values, there's a great video on Facebook that you can find if you look up Simon Sinek, where he talks about turning these values words into actions. I totally encourage you to go suss it out. Today's episode has been brought to you by Simply Business Accelerator. You can enroll today to get on point with your messaging and marketing for May. You can join us. It's a 1-month program and you can enroll at simplystacymorgan.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love you to take a screenshot and stick it on your Insta story and tag us on Instagram at simplystacymorgan. When all parts of your business are healthy and working together, they fuel profitable, sustainable growth. If you're not quite sure how healthy your business is, please make sure you take our survey. It'll only take you 20 minutes. You can do it at simplystacymorgan.com. Just click on the Learn with Stacey tab. We are here every week giving you bite-sized business tips and tangible takeaways. I hope that you've got a lot out of our vision, mission, and values series. And don't forget, if you want to learn more about us, you can join our fabulous Facebook group, the How to Run a Successful Business and Still Have a Life. You can search for us in Facebook. And we'll talk to you next week.